It was a rainy Thursday evening in the small town of Ashford when Lena Marlowe vanished. The streets shimmered under the glow of street lamps, the air thick with the smell of wet asphalt. By all accounts, Lena had been her usual self earlier that day, all cheerful at work, texting her younger sister about weekend plans. But at 8:47 p.m., her phone sent one last message: "If anything happens to me, tell them it's not an accident." The message was sent to a number no one recognized. Not a friend, not family, not a coworker. Just 10 digits and a warning that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who heard it. The next morning, Lena didn't show up for her shift at the cafe. By noon, her sister reported her missing. Detective Aaron Blake, a seasoned investigator who'd seen more than his share of domestic disputes and petty thefts, knew immediately that this was different. Missing adults often returned within hours, a misunderstanding, a spur-of-the-moment trip. But this felt deliberate. Blake visited Lena's small apartment that evening. The door was locked, no signs of forced entry. Inside, the living room was tidy except for a coffee mug on the table, still half full, its surface filmed over as if it had been sitting there for hours. A cardigan hung over the back of a chair. On the kitchen counter, Lena's purse sat open, wallet and keys still inside. He moved to the bedroom and froze. On the nightstand was Lena's phone, switched off. For a woman who texted her sister daily and scrolled through news apps before bed, leaving her phone behind was unthinkable. Rain began to tap harder against the windows, the sound filling the silence of the room. Blake's mind churned. Who had she messaged? What wasn't an accident? And why, in a town where everybody knew each other, had no one seen her leave? That night, as he drove back to the station, the detective couldn't shake the image of that final message glowing on the phone screen. It wasn't just a warning, it was a clue. And someone out there already knew exactly what it meant. Detective Blake didn't sleep that night. By dawn, he was combing through security camera footage from the block around Lena's apartment. Most cameras belong to small shops, their lenses clouded by rain, the images grainy and distorted. But at 9:12 p.m., one camera caught something unusual, a dark SUV slowing down near Lena's street. The headlights flickered once, almost like a signal, before the vehicle disappeared into the night. Blake noted the time. Lena's last message had been sent just 25 minutes earlier. He paid a visit to the cafe where Lena worked, hoping her coworkers could offer insight. She'd been distracted all week, said Maria, the shift manager, kept looking over her shoulder like she expected someone to walk in. Maria mentioned Lena had started avoiding her usual walk home, taking detours that made no sense for someone who hated being late. Back at the station, Blake asked the tech unit to recover the deleted texts from Lena's phone. Hours later, the results came in, and they were chilling. 3 days before her disappearance, Lena had received a series of anonymous messages. "You think you can ignore me? We need to talk, alone." Clocks ticking. No name, no reply from her. Blake traced the number, but it led to a prepaid burner phone purchased in cash. Whoever sent those messages had planned this. That evening, he visited Lena's sister, Emily. She was pale, clutching a mug she wasn't drinking from. "She called me 2 nights ago," Emily said quietly. She sounded scared. She asked if I remembered a man from our childhood, someone who used to live across the street. But before I could answer, she hung up. It was too vague to be useful, yet Blake felt it was important. Childhood memories had a way of burying dangerous truths. As darkness settled over Ashford again, the detective stared at the photo of Lena pinned to his board, smiling, unaware of what was coming. Somewhere in this quiet town, a thread was waiting to be pulled. And when it unraveled, he feared it might lead to something far worse than a simple missing person case. The next morning, Detective Blake returned to Lena's apartment. He had already searched it once, but something gnawed at him, a feeling that he'd missed something important. He moved slowly this time, checking every drawer, every corner, behind a row of dusty books on the highest shelf. His fingers brushed against something, a thin envelope, sealed with tape. Inside were 3 photographs, each one older than the last. The first showed 2 little girls playing in front of a small white house. One was clearly Lena, the other, a girl Blake didn't recognize. The second photograph was darker, taken at night. It showed the same house, but its windows were boarded up, its yard overgrown. In the corner of the frame stood a man, his face partly hidden in shadow, watching. The third photo was the most disturbing, a close-up of that same man's face. His eyes were cold, unblinking. On the back, in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Don't forget what you saw." Blake felt a chill crawl up his spine. He took the photos to Emily. Her reaction was immediate. Her hands trembled, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "That's Daniel Moore," she said. "He used to live across from us when we were kids. One night, Lena told me she saw him in the backyard, with something in a sack. She swore she saw blood." Emily admitted that their parents had brushed it off as childish imagination. But soon after, Daniel moved away without warning. Blake checked records. Daniel Moore had no criminal charges, but a strange pattern. He'd lived in 3 different towns over the last decade, each time leaving after a young woman went missing. That night, as rain hammered against his windshield, Blake parked outside Daniel's last known address in Ashford. The house was dark, the windows lifeless. But as Blake adjusted his binoculars, he saw it, a black SUV. The same model caught on camera near Lena Street. Sitting quietly in the driveway, his pulse quickened. He was no longer chasing shadows. He'd found something solid. But with Daniel Moore, solid could quickly turn into dangerous. Blake stayed low in his car, his eyes fixed on the darkened house. The black SUV sat like a predator in the driveway, its chrome edges catching faint glimmers from a distant streetlight. Then, movement. The front door opened, and Daniel Moore stepped out. His stride was slow, deliberate, as if he knew he was being watched, but wanted to make the watcher wait. Daniel unlocked the SUV, slid inside, and the engine came alive with a low, throaty rumble. Blake started his own car, but kept the lights off. Daniel drove away, taking winding back streets like he'd done this before, like he was testing for a tail. Blake matched every turn, keeping just enough distance. After 15 minutes, Daniel pulled onto an old industrial road, its cracked asphalt glistening from the earlier rain. Blake's stomach tightened. The area was deserted, lined with decaying warehouses and broken windows. Daniel's SUV slowed, then stopped in front of a rusted metal door. He got out, glanced over his shoulder once, and disappeared inside. Blake waited, listening to the ticking of his own engine. 5 minutes, 10, at 12. The SUV's rear hatch popped open from inside the warehouse. A shadowy figure appeared, struggling with a heavy, black plastic bag. They heaved it into the SUV. The bag sagged oddly, its shape disturbing, too rigid in some places, too soft in others. A gust of wind carried the faintest metallic scent toward Blake's car. Blood. His heartbeat slammed in his ears. He reached for his phone, dialing the local police for backup. But halfway through the call, Daniel reappeared, faster this time, eyes darting in every direction. Blake ducked. Daniel climbed in, slammed the door, and drove off. Blake followed again, but Daniel's speed doubled. The chase tore through dark streets, tires hissing on wet pavement. Blake's knuckles were white on the wheel. Then, suddenly, Daniel swerved down a dirt road, cutting his headlights entirely. Blake followed into the blackness, his own lights dimmed. For a moment, the night swallowed them both, until the SUV's brake lights flashed red. Daniel had stopped, and he was stepping out. Blake's breath came in slow, controlled bursts as he stepped out of his car, the damp earth crunching softly under his boots. The only light came from the faint red glow of the SUV's taillights, casting long shadows into the trees. Daniel Moore stood ahead, his back to Blake, holding something, a shovel. "Don't take another step," Blake called out, his voice low but steady. Daniel froze, the shovel hovering mid-air. For a moment, the only sound was the rustle of leaves overhead. Then Daniel turned slowly, his face half hidden under the brim of his cap. There was no surprise in his eyes, only resignation. "You shouldn't have followed me," he said. Blake took a cautious step forward, his flashlight beam slicing through the dark. Behind Daniel, the ground was freshly disturbed, a mound of wet soil glistening under the light. A black plastic bag lay partially buried, its torn edge revealing. Canvas, not flesh, not bone, canvas. Blake's eyes narrowed. "What's in the bag?" Daniel dropped the shovel, the last piece of it, the painting from the bank vault. It hit Blake all at once, the heist, the missing art, the sudden disappearance of suspects. This wasn't just about money. The vault hadn't been emptied for cash. It had been emptied for something. More valuable. Something that could vanish without a trace. Daniel sighed, his voice breaking. We were supposed to split it, hide it, wait for the heat to die down. But they got greedy, Lena. She tried to take it for herself. I didn't. His voice faltered. She didn't deserve what happened. Blake's got twisted. The bank heist wasn't just a robbery, it was a betrayal turned deadly. Blue and red lights flashed in the distance, cutting through the night. The sirens grew louder, the sound bouncing off the trees. Daniel didn't run. He simply lifted his hands as the cruisers pulled up, their beams flooding the scene. As officers cuffed him, Daniel looked at Blake one last time. It's never about the money. It's about who you trust. The bag, the dirt, the rain, all of it felt heavy with unspoken truths. And as Daniel was taken away, Blake knew one thing for certain. In small towns, secrets never stay buried.